recently I've started watching a new show. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Look, I was born in 2002. I missed Buffy by a couple years. Going back and watching this show has been a real treat. I think it's a really good series of television that, while maybe being a bit too layered in Joss Whedon's tone, it does establish a voice for itself. However, there's one aspect of the show I've never really liked. That's the character of Xander.
Xander, this is deeply dangerous.
I'm inadequate. That's fine. I'm less than man.
He feels like an unfortunately aged character that, for some reason, never leaves the show. I didn't know what the common consensus was on Xander, so I decided to start looking it up, and I actually found a really great video by the Cosmonaut Variety Hour on this character. As it turns out, a lot of other people feel the same way that I do about Xander, and while I didn't watch the whole video to get myself spoiled, I did get very engaged about one thing that was mentioned. The idea that Xander can drag down this entire show because he's in every episode. And I sort of took that idea to heart and asked myself, is there any show that I feel is in the same boat? Is there any show with a character or a plot line or a theme that feels so bad that it drags down everything else that's great about it? And in the end, I could really only come up with one aspect, one character from a show that I like. This is Rainbow Dash. Rainbow is a character that really doesn't need any introduction. I mean, even people who've never seen My Little Pony know who she is. She's basically the unofficial face of Friendship is Magic, and that's really just because she's the cool pony. Her words, not mine. Rainbow has a pretty simple place in the story. She's the not like other girls girl. She likes athletics and hates fashion and has a bunch of sarcastic quips and likes to fight people and is all aggressive. She's kind of like the boy-girl character because she's the least feminine of the main girls. Which means that as this show began to shift into being less about only appealing towards girls, Rainbow found herself in an interesting position. As the show developed, Rainbow kind of felt like she was getting left behind. As characters like Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and Twilight started to come into their own, we all began to realize that Rainbow's a bit one-note.
Egghead, make it look cool. Uncool. Daredevil license. Egghead. Awesomeness. Awesome. Radicalness.
This earned her a nickname in the community as Worst Pony. But going back and watching some of the Rainbow-centric episodes, I began to wonder if this is actually, like, real. Is Rainbow Dash actually the worst pony, or were we just being too mean? The first thing we need to talk about is very simple, and it's that Rainbow is a bit of an egomaniac. This is an aspect of her character that needs to be understood because it's bathed in every episode that she's in. Rainbow gloats about how awesome or cool she is, and then she has to get humbled. The tricky part is that very often this isn't simply a flaw for the character to overcome, but a personality aspect that we're forced to absorb. In the same way that Rarity's base character setting is complaining about fashion and being overdramatic, Rainbow's base setting is bragging about all of her accomplishments. This is the aspect of the character that I find most annoying personally. Every character of the main six has their own character archetypes that they have to overcome. However, this is a long-running serialized show, which means characters can't change too much. And one of the things that seems baked into Rainbow's character is her egomania. This is fine in episodes where it's clearly being called out as a character flaw. These are Rainbow-centric episodes, and it's Rainbow dealing with her problems. I'm fine with this. The problem is that when Rainbow's not the focus, and the writers don't know what to do with her, they just have her talk about how cool she is. A lot of the other main six characters will have moments like this too when they're in the background, but it's never directly calling attention to the character's flaws and not challenging it. Like Fluttershy will just pull up and be her usual shy self and talk about animals. This isn't like a character flaw or something that's annoying. This is just the normal thing for her. The difference is that it's not Rainbow talking about how awesome she is every 5 seconds. On paper, Rainbow's character makes sense because every time that she tries to act selfish in her own storylines, it is called out as a character flaw. But not every episode is Rainbow-centric, and when she's not the focus, she just gets to be her usual self. And her usual self is kind of annoying.
We'll always be 1 step, 3 steps, 7 steps ahead of you, and just when you think you're catching up, that's when we'll be right behind you.
It's kind of become a joke throughout the entire show how often our ponies need to relearn the same lessons. And while there is a really great episode later on in the show that directly calls attention to this aspect of the storytelling in a very funny fourth wall breaking way, it still doesn't fix the many episodes that we have where Fluttershy has to learn the same lesson about being assertive. Or all of the times Rainbow has to learn not to be a selfish jerk. There are way too many episodes where Rainbow has to learn this same lesson over and over and over again, only for the next episode to start with a cold open where she's just talking about how awesome she is again. Because remember, her base setting is this.
So, obviously I'll be at the front of the pack. I'm a world-class athlete. Greetings for eggheads like you, Twilight. Speed, coolness.
And we can't change her character too much, otherwise the show stops delivering on the promise of its premise. If Rainbow's not going to talk about how awesome she is, what are we even doing with her character? And this is the really frustrating part about Rainbow's character. It's not that she relearns the same lessons or has these egotistical rants. It's that in every episode, she keeps falling back into what she once was. And unlike the rest of the cast, what she once was just all of her flaws manifested. Pinkie Pie's base setting is being a happy party pony who makes people smile. Rarity and Fluttershy are the archetypical diva and shy girl characters. Applejack imparts some down-home country wisdom and says some slang. And Twilight acts all nerdy about some book or something. But what is Rainbow's base setting? What does she always have to fall back on?
Yeah, I'm awesome. Take caution. Watch out for me. I'm awesome as I wanna be.
This is who Rainbow is in the micro sense. When we're not focusing on her, when she's just there, when she exists, this is who she is. And I think it's easy to see why a lot of people think she's worst pony. But the real question for me has never been, is she worst pony? It's, does she ruin the show? In the same way that people talk about Xander and Buffy, does Rainbow Dash ruin Friendship is Magic? Hell no. Look, I might have a lot of misgivings about this character, and I know this entire video has just been me pointing out all of her flaws, but Rainbow is just one aspect of a massive show. She's not in every episode, and sometimes she doesn't really even get anything to do. And when she does have stuff to do, she can be genuinely a good character. Sometimes. And while I might be overselling her regression as a character, she does go through actual character growth.
Rarity, what are you wearing?
Like, she has a whole arc where she joins the Wonderbolts and learns a lot more about friendship. They might regress her character every now and then to make her talk about how cool she is. But unlike Xander Harris, who never seems to grow, at least where I'm at in Buffy, he has yet to grow as a character, like, at all. Rainbow still has an arc, and some of her episodes are actually my favorites. Like Newbie Dash and Rainbow Falls. These are episodes where Rainbow's selfishness is directly challenged by the writers. And she at least seems to grow as a character. So while she might be worst pony, I don't think she ruins the show. Time will tell if the same thing goes for Xander. It's not looking great for him, though. Seriously, was there an entire episode where he mind controlled the entire female population to fall in love with him, and then we didn't punish him for it? Wow, Josh, you got an interesting approach to how we should treat women, huh?
As far as who I relate to, Xander was obviously based on me, the sort of guy that all the girls want to be best friends with.